This was insane to witness. The Boston Celtics had their first game of the 2025-26 season at home against the Philadelphia 76ers. And this game was a little bit back and forth at the end of the game where the Celtics had a big lead and ended up coming down to the wire as we saw a lot of new faces on the court early for the Boston Celtics. And on the 76ers side of things, not much of Joel Embiid, but a lot of other guys stepped up for the Sixers. And this is going to be a very long and fun season for Boston Celtics fans. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video here on Celtics Digest. I am Patrick Billings. Before we get into anything, guys, if you love the content that we're doing here on Celtics Digest, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The content's going to start ramping up as the season is finally here. We get to figure out what this team really looks like after all the talks in the offseason. We saw everything in the preseason at a very, very small rate. But the season is here, and we got to see what this Boston Celtics looks at a very small sample size. And let's get right into this one because this game was very, interesting to watch because the Boston Celtics in the first half definitely didn't look right to begin as they weren't shooting the ball very well, missing a lot of open shots, and really an Embiid-less 76ers team as he was on a minutes restriction, even though he came in the game, looked real slow, and it looked like the Celtics could really attack down low, which they started to figure out later on in the game, but the guards definitely overpowered this Boston Celtics team, and if you were not able to catch the game, well, the Boston Celtics lost 117 to 116 as you see a humongous fourth quarter by the 76ers, a 42-point fourth quarter, which cannot happen if you're the Boston Celtics. Talking about your defense being your identity, playing this jail type of defense, but just getting absolutely fried by the two guards on the 76ers. As we saw VJ Edgecombe in his rookie debut score 34 points in the TD Garden, which is third ranked all time for a rookie in their debut scoring. And then, of course, Tyrese Maxey going for 40 himself, absolutely frying the Boston Celtics, which have definitely been one of their strong suits is their guards being able to pick up defensively. And with the 76ers, again, not having Joel Embiid playing that many minutes and not looking himself being on the court, it's truly unacceptable. I get it. It's the beginning of the season. There's a lot of things to figure out, but every game does matter. It's somewhat of a long season, but a short season, but every game matters, and we know that in many other sports. But we really got to see what this Boston Celtics team looks like as the Boston Celtics leading scorer was tied with Derrick White and Jaylen Brown. We saw some positives with Peyton Pritchard being able to get downhill and even seeing some Anthony Simons who looked like he could definitely fit very well in this team coming off the bench, maybe a future sixth man of the year if this starting lineup stands, as this is one of the questions throughout the whole offseason. What is this starting lineup going to look like? And they end up going with Sam Hauser in this lineup, running a very small lineup with Neemias Queta, who had an incredible game, looking like he's picking up where he left off in Eurobasket for Portugal. He absolutely rose up in my stocks. I already had some high hopes for him, but just him being on the court, finding him on the pick and rolls, being on the outside, and just finding those little gaps and finding him, I thought that was a very big positive. And especially with Jaylen Brown, didn't really start off too strong offensively, but in that first quarter, he was able to get a few assists. As we see, he only finished with 4 assists and about, 6 rebounds. I mean, they're doing a lot in ways that they haven't really played. The three ball is definitely still the number one point in this offense, but it was not shot well. And we see when they don't shoot very well from the three-point line, they're not going to win games. And it's live or die by the three. It was a 1-point game to end, but it really wasn't the storyline because they did have a 12-point lead going into this one in the middle of the third quarter. And they just seemed to lose it defensively, especially in the fourth quarter. But again, I think just the story of this one comes down to their shooting and not being as aggressive as we kind of expected them to in the beginning of the game. It was working, but they weren't really getting much of a flow because Joe Mazzulla was big on offensive rebounds. And we saw it in the preseason that if guys weren't going to get rebounds and let up offensive rebounds, you're going to get subbed out. And we saw that instantly, bringing in Garza, bringing in Boucher, bringing in Minot, all these guys some of them even coming in for 3 minutes, letting up an offensive board, and then getting taken out of the game. I totally understand that point, which he kind of gave up on in the second half, but a lot of these players need to be in the game and get a flow, especially on the offensive end. But again, it is the first game in the season. There's always going to be something to fix, and a lot of things definitely stood out with this team. As we look at the team stats as well, as from the field, the Celtics shot 41 of 91, which definitely is, it's okay, but the 3-point shot is just abysmal, going 11 for 43, and the Celtics just can't let that be their identity. I really feel like when they were spread out on the 3-point line, they had their 4 guards, and they had the Neemias Queta kind of running that pick and roll and getting downhill, which is a lot of what I wanted to see in Jaylen Brown's game this year. He's not the best 3-point shooter, better from the corner, but when he's able to go downhill and use his aggression and have the Neemias Queta come on the screen and roll, we have a lot more options. And a lot of the things that I did see with Xavier Tillman was an option in that corner, kind of playing that Al Horford role, which kind of surprised me as he didn't really have too much playing time last season, but now coming into it and with the expectations of him having that Al Horford role, it's really showing a little bit more. And I think as time goes on, he's really going to be able to take on that role even more and get more confidence in his shot. And I truly believe in that with Xavier Tillman. And I mean, the turnovers wasn't really too much of a factor in the first quarter. I don't believe they even had one turnover. Maybe they had 1 or 2, but I really didn't see many turnovers. They did end up with 11, which really isn't too bad. But the assist mark, again, 16 assists. You like to see that a little bit more. But again, with Joe Mazzulla with the offensive boards, only letting up 10, that is a little too much for your liking. Because again, this whole identity for this Boston Celtics team was their defense going in, saying you're going to hate to play us. And that was what many players said, especially Jaylen Brown. You're not going to like to play us because we're going to be playing this jail ball defense. And it really didn't look like it. With no big men really putting a force on the Boston Celtics tonight and giving up 74 combined points to their guards, one of them being a rookie, is truly unacceptable, especially from Derrick White. There was a couple contests, but there was a lot of things with the Celtics that you can unfold. I could keep going on the negatives, but I really don't want to do that. It's game one. A lot of things that I did like was a lot of open shots from the 3-point line. Sometimes you're just not going to hit the open shots. Maybe it's a first game jitters, try and get into a flow of things, but they missed a lot of open shots, and they had a lot of opportunities to really just gain on that lead. They had a 12-point lead and really gain on that and really just, push forward on it and really put the Sixers team away. But coming out in the fourth quarter, Tyrese Maxey gets 3 straight threes, and the lead just starts dwindling away. And this is something that the Celtics, we have seen over the last couple of years. It's always been one quarter that kills the Celtics. I thought in the third, we saw a difference. The Celtics offense really made adjustments in halftime. But then come the fourth quarter, it's like, this is looking like the old Celtics once again, not being able to hold leads. And that's something that Joe Mazzulla is definitely going to talk about on practice tomorrow, going into MSG against the Knicks, who has another tough team. But there's a lot of things that you could pull positively. I think that this offense is going to really flow through a lot of guys. I'm hoping that Jaylen Brown will be the guy. Tonight, it didn't really feel like it. He did have 25 points, but especially in that first half, came out a little bit slow. But there's a lot of options offensively for this team. And I really think that any one of these guys can lead in scoring. And I think they all understand that. Anthony Simons is extremely talented. Peyton Pritchard, extremely talented. Did not shoot well from the 3 tonight. Derrick White got hot in that third quarter, really keeping that lead and just bringing this team back with some motivation and just having just some heart, honestly. And it stinks that this team really let up this lead tonight. Lost Luka Garza going into concussion protocol. The guy was a dog. He was bleeding from the mouth, still stuck in there, got the block, going up and down the court, and you love to see that. Joe Mazzulla definitely loved that as well. But the Celtics, all in all, it's game one. We got to stay positive, and I truly think that this team is going to be a lot of fun this season. I think we're going to love this team. They're going to be gritty. They're going to compete with the best in the East. I think they're going to have some really close games, and it's going to get your heart pumping, but this is what this season's all about, and hopefully we are in for a great one on Friday and bounce back and go beat the Knicks in their house. Guys, Thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Anything that we should be touching on, your game one thoughts, anything that you think that I missed, that you think the Celtics should be working on, and some of your positives as well. It is game one, guys. We got the Knicks on Friday, so let's bounce back then. Thank you for watching the video, and drop a like if you like this one. I will see you in the next one. And with that being said, let's go Boston Celtics.